Close to the camera.
See, he's 5 pounds right now.
We're here at the media day for the 2021 Bass Master Classic on Lake Roberts. This is a tank.
Look at the size of this thing.
Progress we've made so far on our Hobie PA14. Got it wired up for 12 volt right now. We got the P127. That money!
That's a monster!
Got one. Took him long enough, didn't it? He knows. You know that's your outro.
I know, but I mean, like, I was waiting on you because, like, you just kind of put me on the spot, and it's like it didn't flow. Like,
whatever. All right, guys. All right, guys. How y'all doing tonight, man? It has been it's been a while. It's been a while since we've been doing anything live.
Yep.
I mean, last time we were doing Tackle Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And then we just got too busy. We ain't had time to do Tackle Tuesdays.
Yeah. We would tackle sleeping.
Yeah. It's been busy on Tuesdays, but no tackling. They're for a while it wasn't. So right now we're doing this show down here. We were going to do it Sunday, and I wasn't feeling real well. Feeling under the weather, so didn't want to do it on the same night as KBN was doing theirs. So doing it tonight. We got a good show lined up for you guys. Really excited to get on here and talk about our last 2 weeks of fishing. I mean, we had a good time, and really excited about kicking the season off and what we got planned for the rest of this season.
Oh yeah.
So we got a big season planned, and really excited to.
Yeah, our plans actually changed a little bit since we've been
They have changed. So we'll talk a little bit about that after we have our guest Cody Henley on here shortly. But I just want to thank everybody that's tuned in so far. I've kind of missed doing this, getting on here and talking with everybody. So I want to thank everybody so far that's kind of joining in on the chat and all that. If you don't mind, take the time to share this if you're on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're at. We're going to try to get to everybody's questions tonight. Some stuff, if you might already answered it, it's going to be hard to get to all of, I don't want to ask them again. But also sometimes we get a lot of questions when we're trying to get somebody, when the person's getting off.
You look like two scallywags.
Yeah. Oh, Alan.
Yeah.
But anyways,
more wind.
Yeah. But we're gonna try to get to everybody's questions, and then we got a lot of big stuff that's going to happen next. Is it next week? Next week's Classic Week.
Yeah.
So we got some stuff that's going to be happening, some videos that's going to be coming along. We're going to have a video coming out here soon starting with day one of Lake Fork. We're going to be releasing that tomorrow. So that'll be going up around 7:30. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, around 7:30 we'll
Can't
get
wait to watch it.
Yeah. It's some fun fish catches in that. I did notice I really freaked out on the first one. A little more than I probably should, but it was like
I could hear you all the way down the cut.
It was just so. Yeah. I mean,
I was like, "Well, Josh got one."
Yeah. It was just, I lost a really big one, and then I cast back over there like 2 or 3 casts later, and then hang this other one. And you know how your eyes get. I mean, it was a big fish. I ain't gonna say it wasn't a big fish, but I could have swore that joker was. Could have swore it's 20 pounds when I rolled about the water at first.
20 pounds.
But you never know down at Lake Fork what you're about to hang into. You know what I mean?
No,
when you set the hook.
It's giants that live down there for sure.
So, but we'll talk a little bit about that after we get Cody Henley on. We might talk a little bit about it while we have Cody on. I don't know. But but Cody, he's had a phenomenal start to the year with the KBF Temptational, with going to the Bass event, the Hobie event. I'm not sure. I can't remember if he did Fork or how well he did at Fork.
He did Fork, I think.
But he did really well in the Hobie event.
Yeah.
So, and that was a tough one. Toledo Bend was a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Both events were tough. We had a lot of obstacles ahead of us.
Yeah.
With fronts and wind and man, freezing temperatures. It was a nightmare. So, but we're going to go ahead. We're going to get Cody on, and we're going to start talking about his year. We're going to be talking about his business. He's got his own tackle business.
Yep.
And then we're also going to be talking about pre-spawn bass fishing. So let's go ahead and get him in here. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys?
How you doing tonight, man?
Great. Well, besides the snow, great.
Yeah, that ain't no
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I don't want to see more snow.
How much
No.
longer do y'all have till your snow season is basically over?
I'm
the
not
most-
even thinking about that, man, because
Yeah.
I'm leaving next month. I got like it ain't long. I'll be out of here. I'll be in Arizona and then Colorado and California. So, but
Yeah.
probably May or June we'll still have snow on the ground. And, oh, they'll be in the mountains all year. It doesn't leave the mountains.
Gosh.
Ugh.
Oh no.
Yeah. How do you? I'd have to. I know you probably got family there, but I'd have to pack up and be a snowbird. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if the tackle business takes off, you might be able to do that. You know, if you're just like really going, you just buy a house down there with all your gear and just go back and forth.
It would be nice, man. It would be super nice.
Well, how you been, man? I know you've been busy. You've been cashing checks. I mean, you were. Would you say we talked at a boat ramp down there at Toledo Bend, and you were saying this is pretty much your first year of going full time, kind of doing this. I mean, it's starting out good for you, man, for sure.
Yeah. Really good. Hopefully it's not just a flaw in something and then it just goes downhill. But yeah, this is I would say last year I did do a few national levels because obviously I had to qualify for the 10. So I drove out to California and there was a West Coast Championship that I had qualified through my local tournament series. And I took second in that out of I think it was like 120 people, but there was a KBF trail also. So I talked to Chad, and Chad will always say, like, he said, all I got to do is fish these 3 events and I can make it. I'm like, man, I didn't think I was going to make it. But I ended up, that was my first 100-inch day on the water or during a tournament and probably on the water, if we're going to be honest. And I took a first on day 2. Day 1, I took a 9th. And then day 3, I think I took a 4th. And yeah, things went really, really well, man. I'm super butthurt about that, though, because I lost all my GoPro footage on day 3. I don't even think I started fishing until 9 or 10 o'clock, which the bite didn't really pick up till then. I was on the phone with this company called Geek Squad, and they were trying to tell me how to like reset my GoPro, dude. I was so upset. I just can't even tell you, dude. I was upset. Yeah. I've never fished in a fishery quite like that. I don't know if y'all have been there, but the most unbelievable. If you would pull up to a spot, like if you would go from place to place and you stopped and you looked around for 5 to 10 minutes, if you did not see a 10-pounder jumping out of the water, leave. You're not in the right spot. It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in my life. So
what are they feeding on shad in there? Is that what they're doing?
So they're the number one thing that they feed on, which is it's a silver sock. And someone might correct me from Cali. I think it's a silver-sided minnow. It's something super, super small. But since they're so keyed in on this, obviously they eat a lot of other things too, and they're big trout eaters in there too, because we were catching on some big swim baits. And but these silver shiners would sit up in the tops of the grass because there'd be floating grass mats all over, and these fish were blowing up on it like you're throwing a frog. You wouldn't even have to throw anything. You would literally just sit there, and these fish are just jumping out of the water everywhere. It's like, oh my gosh, please hit my bait. I mean, it was a little hard. It wasn't super easy to catch them once they figured out, oh, well, I probably don't want to eat your buzz toad. Or I was throwing a rivet, an old school rivet, and had to go a little finessey on them. It wasn't super finesse. I was throwing an underspin on like 1/8 ounce underspin on 65-pound braid, just like a topwater frog. I would just twitch it across the top of the water, and they liked that flash. And I think that's what it was them relating to that silver-sided minnow. But that's really the only big national trail I've fished. I think I fished a Hobie like my first year ever, and we didn't even know it was a Hobie. Like, we had no clue what it was. We drove to California in like 2019 and showed up, and they're like, Hobie BOS. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I mean, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's cool, man. I think Chad and them done a good job at trying to get more events out there for you guys to qualify for, national championship and Temptational and all that. And you having the opportunity to do that I think is great. And like I say, it's opened doors for you. I mean, look at the success you've had so far now.
Yeah.
doors that I never thought would be open. So yeah, you're right. You're exactly right, man.
Yeah. So I mean, but let's talk about the Temptational. I mean, you go down there and I mean, you really get on them, figured something out. I mean, how did your practice go? Was that something that, or did you have much practice? I mean, how did
Yeah,
it go for you?
absolutely. I had a ton of practice. I was fishing by Tuesday. Started Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oh, well, Friday. Um, I looked as the trails as a practice day for me. My most important thing was the 10. That's all I cared about. And I think I had like a super relaxed mentality, and that's how I went into it. And I don't know if that helped me or hurt me or what went on, but so my first day down there, which everyone already knows, I fished East Toho, the whole entire trail, and the Temptational Pro and the 10. And my first day down there, I have a buddy that actually lives down there, and he always says, I'm always out on East Toho and I'm just tearing them up. Dude, you look up anything on the internet, you ain't going to find nothing about East Toho. Let me tell you, it's all about Big Toho, Kissimmee, flipping mats, like all these things. And like, dude, I'm not wasting my time on East Toho. I got to give his name is Preston Higgins. He actually lived in Utah, then moved down to Orlando. I got to give him a huge shout out because he's like, I'm telling you, man, there's some giants in there. I'm like, dude, whatever. So day one of my practice, I went to East Toho and I had a rough practice. Like we had some weird weather come in. Like I said, it followed me around everywhere I went. It was there. And we had a little bit of wind and rain that day, a little bit of cold. I was decked out in my rain gear. And day one, I think I caught like 3 fish. One was like a 5. The rest were like 12 inches. And I went on a certain side of the lake and I didn't do that great, right? So I just checked that box off automatically. Just I'm like, okay, I'm out of there. Get out of here. So I started going. I went to I want to say Big Toho. I went to Big Toho. I went to Kissimmee. I went 2 full days without catching a fish. Not a single fish. So yeah, you could say it was a tough practice. Thursday or Friday, I think Thursday. Okay, Thursday came around, and me and Cayman Rasmussen were kind of splitting off. So I would go one lake and he would go to the other, just because the chain is so big. And so I went to Big Toho, Kissimmee, and just did not do good. I'm like, I've got to focus on a smaller lake. And we did have rainstorms both days. The temperature dropped. I froze my butt off. Like it was literally miserable out there. But Thursday, we had already scheduled with my sponsor, Yak Rods. What would you call that? Videography or something like that. I don't know. We had already scheduled that to go out there. And the boat was already scheduled to be there. And I was going to cancel it to go to Big Toho. And then I skunked on Big Toho. I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I don't have a clue what to do. So I picked a completely different side of East Toho that day. And third cast, I caught a pickerel. I'm like, yay, this is going to be great. He broke me off my jackhammer that I was using. I'm like, yay, this is just great. So I'm retying. I started catching like some small fish, like 12s and 14s, but I started catching fish. And I knew if there's fish down there, I know there's some studs down there in Florida. No matter what lake you're fishing, you're going to find some big fish down there. So I think towards like the end of the videography, I ended up catching like probably 5 or 6 pounders right at 21 inches. It had to be close to 6. And it was a good fish. And I started to like see the patterns of where these fish were staging, because there was reeds and then there was literally a man-made channel on the backside. And I literally just went down that man-made channel during practice and said, hey, I'm done. This is good enough for me. I'll give it a shot. And then on Friday, I think I went to Marianne. No, I don't know. One of the lakes called Marianne. It was one of the ones that we could fish because one of it was off limits for the people in the tin house. And did really good there. Did super, super good, actually. I caught a 6, a 5, and like a 16. And I was like, yep, I'm out. So I had those 2 lakes in factor, but what threw me off was the people at Marianne. Well, I knew that Ken Wood and I knew that Russ Snyder's both had battled it out there last year or whenever that year was. I don't remember exactly when that year was. One was on the south side and one was on the north side, and I found that exact area, and that's where I caught quite a few of my fish. But you could see there was quite a few kayakers literally just staged there. I'm not gonna. I don't even know who they were, but they literally did not move. I don't even know if they were making cast. I literally just think they were sitting there where no one would go in there and catch their fish because they had a plan to be there be the first ones there. And I am not a people person. Well, I am a people person, but I just don't like crowds. I just don't like.
Yeah, when you're fishing, you don't like having people around you.
Yeah.
No, it's something that I'm working on, man. Like it really is. And if we talk about the Hobie BOS, it was something that helped me in the BOS because where I fished, there was a lot of kayakers. But day one of the tournament, this was the Trail Temptational and Pro Series. I get on the water. I was thinking that the reeds, they were like 20 feet long or wide. I was thinking that they were going to be strong enough to hold like the waves because that's the way the wind was coming from the east and hitting in that side. And I'm like, dude, I don't think they're going to be able to hold. Well, I thought they were. And I get there and they are not holding nothing. They are literally, I'm getting just smacked. I've shoved my power pole down and he gets caught on my, because I put it through my back hole of my Hobie and it like tries to flip me. And I'm just caught sitting sideways, like jerk the pole up. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Look, and I have my Newport vessel motor on, and that helped me so much get around and do what I needed to do. And I just said, I just can't do it, man. I got out of there. I said, I'm just going to go somewhere I haven't been and just give it a shot, swing for the fences. This is a practice day. This is a practice day. That's all I'm thinking. And I don't know if I was just saying that to justify that I was sucking it up or what, dude. Yeah. But I get to the other side of the lake, and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I know I have to crack down as hard as I can and get it done. And I scramble around for like an hour, and I literally just like chill the flip out and just fish. So I laid back and said, hey, today's a practice day, and just started burning a chatterbait. And I mean burning. I had 8.5 to 1. My motor was turned on 35%, going about 1.6, 1.7, just chunking and literally just cranking as fast as I possibly could. And I found quite a few buck bass that have pushed up on that northern side. I couldn't find anything big. So day one, I ended with 79 inches. I was I took 14th or 15th for the trail. And so I was obviously sitting in, I think for the Pro Series, I was actually sitting like 10th. But the Temptational, I was a good ways back there. So that was my day one.
Yeah. So and then going into day two, you were able to kind of, figure you got your pattern figured out. You know what I mean? Like, so you're kind of going in and knowing a little bit what you want to do now, right?
Yeah. So day two, I did the same thing, but I went to my side. I went to my side, but the thing was for me was I get on the water. Rewind 3 days ago and Florida fish. Do you know how tough they are? You know how finicky they are. They're different from Mississippi, Texas, all of them. They are different. And I get on the water that morning. We did Thursday. The water temperature was 52. Got up to 57 at the end of the day. That morning I got on the water. It was 42 degrees. Day two of the trail and day two of the Pro and Temptational. And I got worried, dude. I freaked out like I did. I say that a lot, but I got nervous, dude. So I think the Lord was just like, hey, I'm going to give you a fish just so you can just stay confident. Like third cast, I caught a 14. And then like seventh cast, I caught another 14. I'm like, oh, they're still eating. How are they still eating? I don't know. Because it literally went from a 55 of more of an average to 42 in the morning. I'm like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen fishing. But I mean, the same thing happened at Toledo Bend too. It was flip flop. That day was a little bit tougher. Instead of catching 15 fish that didn't score, I only caught 7 fish. My first 2 were 14s. My 14 of 14. The next one I caught was a 19. The next one was an 18. And the next one was a 20. 23. If you rewind one to that 23, I broke off to like probably a 21, 22. I just swapped over to I'm a P-line guy, and I swapped over from tactical to ultimate. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but tactical has a little bit of stretch. Every bit of it's fluorocarbon, but the ultimate is just no stretch. Like obviously it has stretch, but it's very, very minimal stretch. And a fish literally swam out, and I saw the fish come up, and literally just looking down at the tip of my bow, I'm like, huh? Set on it, and as soon as it set, boom, it just broke right where I tied it up. I probably should have tied a double uni, but I tied just a regular uni. And because usually when I hit those fish, man, I'm skiing them across the top of the water, no matter what size they are. I'm usually throwing 20-pound, 18 to 20 on my chatterbait line, and boat flipping usually everything. So after I broke off, I got really upset, man. I was like, keep it together. All you need is 3 more keepers, and you've got this. And that was the next little channel that I found on the backside of the reeds was a 23 out in the flat, 23 and a quarter. I think she weighed probably, I didn't have an exact scale, but I caught 7.5 in Cali, and it was so much bigger than that fish. Like it literally was only a few inches off, but it was so much. It was like a whole inch bigger. But golly, that fish was just huge. I think like high 8s, maybe a 9. I don't know, but not even close to a double digit. After that got me riled up. I'm jumping up and down on my kayak. I threw my net up, had to go find my net. Like I'm just screaming to the top of my lungs, dude. I was stoked. Nobody was around. Like I was hooting and hollering. So at that time I had 3 keepers. I had a 18, 19, and 23. And I knew I was sitting good. I had like 70 inches almost with 3 fish, or 60 something inches. Fast forward a little bit, the bite was really just tough. I just couldn't get any fish, but I did have those 214. So I did have a limit, and I was sitting in first. I ended up going back and working back through where I'd been. And one of the channels that I started at, I caught an 18 out of it, and then circled one more place at the very, very start of where I was fishing. I caught an 8. It might have been a 17. Either way, it was a 17 or 18.5, one of the two.
Yeah. So the bigger ones are moving in. Then they're starting to fire up. And
yeah, it was super weird, man. I have a theory. I don't know if it's right. I feel like that wind, they're used to wind, but I'm telling you, I've never been on the water with the wind blowing like that, because what it was doing, it was crossing that whole entire lake in the middle of the lake, white capping, and by the time it got to me, it was surfing waves. I could have got on a surfboard and surfed them, dude. It was insane. And I don't think they ate. I really and truly don't think. If something ran right in front of their face while they're holding on to some structure, they might have ate. But literally, those big girls just pushed up and was like, "Hey, man, I didn't really get to eat yesterday. You mind if I get a snack?" And they ate.
Yeah. So you end up having a good Florida event. You know what I mean? You cashed a check. You got your trophy. You know what I mean? You had a really good event, and kind of setting yourself up for the momentum wheel. You know what I mean? And getting the wheels rolling. And then you go. Did you go over to Texas and fish that event?
I did, man. I did.
Did you go to Sport and fish it?
I did. Nothing good came from it. I actually, me and Cayman were actually going to have one day to pre-fish, and I was super satisfied with what I had done, and I probably hurt him, and I felt bad for doing it, but I was just super happy with what had already happened. Like I'd won a trail, I'd won second at the pros, second in the Temptational, and then a day later I won the 10. So I was super content. I'm like, dude, I'm going to swing by and say hey to my mom and see my mama and papa. So I drove through Mississippi and surprised my family. And I actually stayed there that night instead of driving straight through to Texas to stay at a buddy's house, to stay at Adam's house. We stayed at my mom's house that night, and we skipped our practice day, and we just showed up Friday night to do board check-in. And day one of the tournament, man, I was trying to do live scope stuff, man. I'm new to all that live scope, and didn't work out at all, whatsoever. I've got a lot of work to do on that stuff. But day 2, like I just put all that stuff up and restudied the map as much as I could and just went somewhere that I thought would be a good fishing spot. And I think I went to the mouth of Little Caney. I'm pretty sure it's Little Caney. And I went on the opposite side and I just motored across the whole. I motored because we could have motors. And first secondary point I jumped on, I caught a 19 1/4, like circled back around, caught an 18 1/2. And I looked at the standings with 2 fish on day 1, day 2. I was sitting in 33rd. I'm like, dude, I got this. I got this on block. I'm cashing a check.
Yeah.
And I went another 4 or 5 hours without a bite. Not a single bite. So I think I ended up taking like 50th or 60th. I would say something like that.
Yeah. Fork was kind of tough. We didn't get in practice for that. And, just the ice and the conditions and never knowing even, we did a lot of research, found where we wanted to put in at. And then
where'd y'all fish?
I don't even know the name of the
I
creek. I really
know the name
don't.
of the creek.
Yeah, we were on Google. We went and checked ramps out when all that sleet and snow and all that was going on. We're driving around checking ramps, making sure certain ramps are public, like, cause it doesn't tell you on your maps if they're off limits or if they're private or not, you know? So you got to ride around and look for signs and find out, if this is private or public. And
then you can launch at every bridge because the taxpayers or something about the bridge. I don't know. I don't really understand that.
Yeah. But I mean, that was a haul if you put it in a bridge because the water was so low. Like,
yeah, no, you're right. I drove all the way down to the lake.
Yeah. Yeah.
People so, at me like I was stupid, but I drove all the way down to the lake. I ain't about to haul my kayak down there.
Heck no, not a daggone Hobie either. Them things ain't light,
Oh my god!
Throw you back out.
Not when they're loaded.
Yeah, and ours wasn't light whatsoever. So
yeah, I would like to know the name of the creek. I know.
Yeah,
I've never even looked it up. It wasn't very much of a creek when we fished it because most of it was dry.
Yeah, and we just got lucky. We just put in. I actually had intentions to put in there and kind of work my way on out to the mouth and fish the main channel, and it didn't. We started catching a mid creek and was like, well, since ain't going nowhere now.
What place did you take?
James was 3rd, and then I was 30th.
You were what now?
I was 30th. I ended up getting last check out of it.
Nice.
So, it was.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, because
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was actually going to go down in the creek more, and I got about, I don't know, probably 100 yards, and it was all completely iced over.
Oh, see, that's what my problem was. I went into a creek, and it started dropping. It was like 41, 46, 40, 39, 37. I'm like, oh, I gotta get out of here. This is terrible.
Yeah.
What water temps were you fishing, James?
We were really close to each other. It was
so y'all both were together.
Oh yeah, we could have slung and hit each other with Carolina rig if we wanted to. I mean, we were that close.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a 2 points. He was sitting on the point, and I was sitting on the point. And it was crazy because day 1, I caught 3 fish in one area. Yeah. He caught a couple of fish before he got to that, but he basically caught his fish on that other point all day long.
Off of one little, seriously, it was like a bush, like a shrub that you'd have at your house.
Yeah.
Really? 3 of my fish came out of that one spot. Yeah, I'd go away, let it sit for a couple hours, go back, boom, pull another one up.
Yeah, they were just rolling back here, man. And then like the last day, I'm sitting here watching him just load the boat. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm not getting a bite, know? And I'm like, and finally I get a bite on a jig. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is going to be it. And then it was nothing the rest of the time. So I ended up going back. Yeah. So I went in the back of the creek where he started at and finally started finding fish again. But I just couldn't finish out no limits.
What were you catching them on?
I was throwing a jig the first day. And the second day, I was actually fishing. It was a brush pile that was a little bit deeper off the point. It's like the fish weren't any deeper in the water. They just were relating to deeper water. So that's like they pulled off a little bit. And it was some other like it looked like crappie tree. Somebody had put a bunch of Christmas trees down there for crappie or whatever for crappie fishing. And I was just running a jerk bait, like just tipping the tops of them. And then they were just inhaling it.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
And they were probably about 30 or 40 feet farther off the bank the second day, but still
Oh,
they were
really?
like in 6 foot of water. Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that's all I worked basically both days with a jerk bait, except I caught one off a jig.
Yeah.
That was it. But the rest of them jerk baits, and it was all through live scope. I mean, it was
Yeah. That's cool.
amazing to watch it. You know what I mean?
I know. I want to get on that so bad. Can y'all guess what I caught my 2 fish on?
Chatterbait.
Yep.
Are you really a kayak fisherman if you don't have a chatterbait?
Dude, I'll be honest with you. Chatterbait fishing is super new to me. Like, I don't think
Really?
I started buying jackhammers till the middle of. No, it was like 2 years ago. I won the kayak fishing Utah National Championship and won Angler of the Year on top of it. Because I won the championship, I won Angler of the Year in Utah in like 2000. Hey, babe.
Yeah,
What year was the first year I won Angler of the Year?
2020.
2020 was the first year that I had won it. And I won it in 50 foot of water, throwing a 3/4 or an ounce and a half, ounce and a quarter jackhammer, slow rolling it in 50 foot of water.
What the world?
Yeah. So that was when I kind of got up, but that would be the only lake I would throw it. I just wasn't a fan of it. Like I just didn't like it. Now, chatterbait and a frog is probably the only thing I'll throw once that water warms up. I did throw a frog in Kissimmee and in Toledo Bend. I actually caught some fish on it. You'd be surprised.
You caught a frog in Toledo Bend?
You caught a
In
fish?
49
fish
foot of
on frog
and
in Toledo
49
Bend.
degree water temps.
Wow.
I thought about it. I never
It
tried
wasn't
it.
no good bite. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like I
Yeah.
didn't pick it up and put it down or not put it down. Like,
Yeah.
but there's been some tournaments out here in Utah that it's a certain time of the year when you get around June, July. I'll bring one rod and that'll just be a frog rod. You can get back up in those pockets and in that shaded area or anywhere around some grass and just throw it out in open water and they'll just come because no one else is throwing it in the middle of the day when the sun is just sitting on bluebird sky days. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just something like, oh, dang, I've heard that thumping for like 45 minutes over there and it's flashing. It doesn't really look like a swim bait, but I might, nope, not going to eat it. And they're like, oh, there's a bluegill chilling up there just twirling around. That's an easy meal. So that's my theory. So I love frog fishing, man. But I couldn't get like a super, super good bite in Florida or in Toledo Bend on the frog. And I definitely wasn't about to throw it on fork.
Yeah. No, I don't know. So, I mean, you had a rough event on fork. Toledo Bend, man, you did really well. It was a lot of struggles. It was a lot of weather changing. You know what I mean? It was a lot of different conditions. I mean, you go into practice, we're fishing 70-degree days. You're thinking that they're
beautiful.
Yeah. And I would have thought, I mean, I know the water temperature wasn't there yet, but me and James both said, and I don't know how it was for you, I did not see one fish up there roaming the banks.
Well, see, mine was a little bit different because I was in a river slough, but I couldn't see anything. I was fishing 6 inches of water visibility, but I know what you're saying is I talked to all my buddies that fish down south. They didn't see a single bass up shallow, like roaming at all. Not even buck bass, I think Rolando said that he saw a couple up shallow under some docks. And that might even been on Panoptics. So yeah, man, I was surprised that they weren't up there. And I think that previous cold front, they pushed up and then they just got super shocked. Like, hey, I'm done. Bye.
Yeah. I think they're ready to go. And then you look back, like I've been kind of keeping an eye on the weather down there, and they'll have a couple of good warm days, and it gets cold again. And it's like, it's going to be a while for I think they really hit it. And you watch it, I know Fork was totally different. It's 3 hours away, but if you look at the Major League Fishing guys right now, or the Bass Pro Tour guys, or whatever,
rushing it.
I mean, I mean they're still throwing jerk baits. You know what I mean? On these fish, they're not catching they're pre-spawners. A lot of them are pre-spawners, but it's just insane to me. You think by now in Texas, some of them dudes would be up there close to getting ready to spawn, but
that's right.
Not happening. So,
yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about Toledo Bend. I mean, how was you able to make the right changes from from those warm days to that massive cold front that came in Saturday, and the wind was whipping and all that. I mean, where you were at? Did you have a lot of bad wind? I mean, I know some places you're kind of sheltered from it.
Yeah. So for me on Toledo Bend, it was kind of a gamble for me, man. I'm not gonna lie. Day one, I went up to where we saw each other up in the river, and I put up 97 inches on Tuesday, 97 and a quarter or something like that. And I was set. I'm like, cool, I'm fishing here. I'll expand on it throughout the week. But I had to go check the main lake out. I went down to the main lake, did not like it at all. Just the second I got on the water, I literally went to the back to the creek, found a back pocket. Nope, I'm out of here. I sat and fished a little bit. I didn't really catch anything. I saw quite a few on Panoptics and found quite a few areas for me to use my Panoptics and see if I couldn't get better at it. But my strength is up shallow, is just chunking and winding and picking those isolated trees or picking everything apart, So for me, my bite was a flipping bite. I was flipping one of my custom lures. Might not tell the name of it, but and it played a huge role in what I was catching, because I would flip one of my I call it a Ronnie Ripper, and it's just like a creature bait looks like a Rage Menace with a ribbed body and just two kickers that kick like crazy, and I would get decent bites on those, but I would double my bites compared to what I was flipping from the Ronnie Ripper. So I put the Ronnie Ripper up and just started getting these really, really good bites. Well, I started expanding off what I had found. And Tuesday was the only day that I hooked fish. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I didn't hook a single fish, and just buried my hook into the plastic. And my bites were really good. Wednesday was 10 to 15 good bites that I could tell. But then Thursday, it started dwindling down. And then Friday, it got really, really low, like 2 bites all day long. I'm like, oh, man. I have a tendency, and this is something I need to do better on. I'll go back to those same trees and flip the same thing to make sure my fish are there. But to me, in my head, those fish grab that bait. When they run off with it, usually they seem to be bigger fish when they take off running with it. It's not always the case, but for me, that's what I have experienced. But those fish will reload sometimes on the same spot, or they'll go to different trees. So I'll just kind of pick that area apart, and they weren't there. So then I started freaking out. I'm like, I don't have fish up here. I don't know what I'm going to do. Should I go to the main lake? Should I try the Panoptics? So I just stuck with it, man. That morning I went down there. I'm like, cool, we'll see. I pull up to the ramp. There was maybe 15 to 20 kayakers, which was a lot for the area that we were fishing. And I almost turned around and went somewhere else because there were just so many people. There were boats everywhere. I rolled around the first corner of where I was going to fish. I had about 20 trees marked where I was going to get back before I got back into my little pocket. And all 20 trees, someone was fishing them. There was a boat on them. I was like, oh, sweet, guys. Keep it up. Y'all are doing a good job. Do you mind letting me see Jamie say you should stay out over the rollers. You're right. I should have stayed over the rollers. He told me about going back there, and I went back there. Oh, my gosh. Guys, that was unreal. That was the day of practice. I was like, I just got to hook a fish. But day one for me was tough, man. Like, after seeing all those boats, it got in my head so much. I get back to my last little area, and I'm just like, I'll roll back up in there, and I literally, kayaks are everywhere. There was almost 15 kayaks, 10 to 15 kayaks back had some point had went back in there. That might not be a good number. Maybe like more 8 to 12. I exaggerate, but there were boats all back there, and I saw every one of them. They were flipping. Every single one of them were flipping. The water was so dirty. I chunked on that. I grabbed my chatterbait rod and just said, hey, you fish different than I do, and I'm just going to follow you. So I literally followed where every single person that went off these trees, like I wasn't like on top of somebody, but just started picking up fish left and right. It was a small limit, but then the big girls would just turn on and they would trigger. And the second they would trigger, I'd start catching them. And if that bite would die down, I'd stop and flip that special sauce. I don't know what it was, but it was special.
That's
And
what's
it was almost every third tree I would get a flipping bite, and it was so consistent. I broke off to probably a 21, 22, which was completely my fault. I played him way too long and let him get wrapped around a tree, and there's not much you can do. But I still kept beating myself up for that. But so in my opinion, with all those people and all the kayaks, I felt like those fish weren't like a reloading area fish. Like I was so far back away from the river. I know these fish aren't going to reload. These fish live here and they're going to stay here. So all I said to myself was, and the bite was so good. Like I called up, I had an 18, another 19, another 18, and all the rest were 17s. And the bite just triggered on. The second I caught that 18, I had 2 hours left in the tournament. And I made a decision, and I made the same decision on day one of the 10 was I got off the water and left a little bit early, and it helped me. But I got off the water I left that area 2 hours early on day one of the Toledo Bend of where I had found the bigger fish, just thinking that all these fish were just getting hammered. And I get back to the ramp, and there's a couple people like, no, I didn't get a limit, or no, I was one fish short. I'm like, what? I should have stayed back there. I think I probably caught 20, 22 fish back there. I think a lot of people were just flipping. And they were literally just, if the wind would pick up, that reaction bite would just hammer down. But the second that wind would die off, it would have to be wind coming going into the trees, and I would jump away from the trees. The wind would stop and go the opposite way. I'd start flipping the outside edges of the channel. But it was literally every single time that wind would pick up. And then I got back to the back, and the water went from literally brown to clear. Like you could see where the brown, it was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I got to get out of here. And I grabbed a golden shiner jackhammer, what I was throwing in Kissimmee. Next 7 casts, I caught 7 16-inchers at the end of the day. And that's when I bounced out of there and said, I got to save this for tomorrow. So day one, I was like, I knew I was still in the money, at least, because I had 89 inches in first 91, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't too far.
Yeah. You had a heck of a day for sure, because we didn't do that well up there. I caught bowfin on practice, tore a couple spinnerbaits or a spinnerbait, and lost a couple Texas rigs, old mudfish. But I'm gonna get to some of these questions here in just a little bit, guys. If you're just now tuning in, make sure y'all hit the subscribe button, share this. Let's get some more people in here, ask more questions. But go ahead and talk about, you're talking about your second day. I mean, did you have many up there after the second? Because you know how these guys are. Like, I know for us, the first day we get to the ramp and everybody's gung ho. There's boats everywhere.
Yeah.
Granted, they were going where we wasn't fishing, so it worked out. But the second day, it was like 3 or 4 guys, and everybody's like,
yeah, nobody cared about it. I don't think nobody blasted off one time.
Everybody's like blasting off. We're like, wow, nobody's in a hurry to get on the water today, are they? But how was it in your area? I mean, was it like that?
They're the same way, exact same way. I don't know if we just didn't care or what was really going on. But I get up to the ramp, and I actually showed up a little late because I found this, and I'm beating myself up because it was a pocket back from where I was fishing that I never touched, and no wind, no nothing. It was like this man-made channel to these people docks, and it literally curved and then ailed back into itself. And I found this ramp, and I'm like, I'm going to launch here. This is where I'm launching right now. And it didn't say public. It didn't say pay. So I'm like, I'm already unloading myself. I'm like, if I launch here and then I get disqualified, it's like, I saw him coming out of someone's backyard. I was like, dang it. I started loading all my stuff back up. And by the time I get over there, it's like 10 minutes until launch. And I'm slowly putting my stuff in. No one's really rushing. So I guess I wasn't in a rush. I'm like, oh, cool. We still got time. And then I see Garrett Wade take off. I'm like, where are you going? He's cheating. He's cheating right there. He's cheating. And it's like at 7:30, dude. I'm like, oh, flip. I literally grabbed the wheels, throw everything on the bank, just chunk everything on the bank. The day before, I'd broke my Boondocks wheels, and I'd knocked on some dude's door. It's like, hey man, you got a welding truck out front. Can you weld my wheels back on? So he welded my wheels back on for me. Super nice dude. I think his name was William. I don't remember his name, but I really appreciate it. If
Was
you
it
ever
down
watch
there at that boat ramp we seen you?
Yeah, down. You see
Was
that
it down
welding
at the
truck
boat
on the way out?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I knocked on his door.
yeah.
He's
That's
like,
what made me
I'll
think
weld
about it.
Yeah, he said, I'll weld this thing for you. So I grab my wheels and chunk up on the bank and I take off. Well, this time I round the corner. No one's in my first spot. No one's in my second spot. No one's here. But everywhere where I'd marked fish, I mark areas because all I remembered was where I was staying with Cody Milton and Matthew Scotch and them. And Cody Milton, I remember him saying something, if that river comes up, you're done. You're screwed. Because obviously when the river comes up, all that cold water, because the river was looking at 42 degrees at all day long, 42, 43, never changed. But if you get back in those back pockets, you get 55, 56. And I'd marked one of my little areas where I was going to fish, and it said like, 5.2 feet. I rolled through there, and it was like 6.9, 7 feet. I'm like, huh. And that's when I started to freak out again. So I'm like, I skipped all my trees, and I saw a few people going back to my spot, but it wasn't nothing like it was the day before. I'm like, so I was like, okay, I'll just stay out here, flip all these trees, and then go back there. But my water temperature never got above 43, 42, and 43 and a half. So then I started thinking, oh, they're going back to my spot and they're going to catch them all because the water's going to be warmer. I was like, I can't let them. So I took off back in the back, and I get back there, and the water has went up from 1.4 feet to about 2.9 to 3 feet deep. So I didn't really know what to do or what to think, or I just could not find anything over 44 and 45 at this time because I went back a little bit further. And I didn't have my GoPro got wet on day one, and I couldn't get it to turn on day two. So I was like, oh, I'm done with that. I'm not messing with that no more.
Yeah.
So I kept going farther back to see if I could find any hot water. And I finally found 48, 49. And I just swapped over jackhammers and started throwing that golden shiner, a little bit more natural presentation in that clear water with that special sauce on the back, man. Literally first cast, 14, another 15, another 16. I was like, I had that baby limit, but I was getting up there, only 3-4 fish. And then I was going to run back down to that warm water. To that dirty water. And I remember I said a prayer. I'm like, Heavenly Father, what should I do? And he don't answer me all the time. A lot of times he don't answer me, to be honest with you. But all I could remember hearing was turn around. And I literally didn't hesitate, man. I flipped that 360 around, and first cast into the trees, I caught a 21. A 21, next cast, jumped over on the outside edge of the trees. I caught an 18 and a quarter or 18 inch or something like that. And I just started slowly looking at that time. I'm pretty sure like everyone started messaging me from Utah and Cali was like, hey man, you're in first by like 10 inches. I'm like, huh? Oh man, I started freaking out. It was the most overwhelming experience I've ever felt in my life. Like,
yeah,
man, I'm like, I click my little earpiece, reply. Sorry, thanks so much. Have a good day. Hey, appreciate it. But just over and over and over. And then someone, Erin Mathis, that's our tournament director up here. She messaged me. She says, Rolando just passed you. He's got you by an inch. Next fish I caught was like a 16. Called me up from a 12. And she's like, you just passed Rolando. You got him by 2.5 inches. I'm like, oh, this is too much. Then she messages again. It's like, I just caught another fish. He has you by 0.25. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, you got to tell him to stop. Then I caught a 17 and passed him by like a pretty good amount. I had him by like 3 inches and 3 inches. And then she says, you got him by 3 inches. And then she messaged me back and said, never mind. He just passed you by 3 inches. I'm like, homie just called an A-rig fish. I literally called it right there. I'm like, no question. He just doubled up with a stud and a mediocre. And me and him talked after the tournament. Yeah. He did. He caught a 19 and a 16 and a half or something. I'm like, I knew it.
Wow.
So yeah, that was it. I needed another 18, and I started flipping again, and I ended up stopped flipping after I caught 2 more coals that helped me and him go back and forth. And then after that, I picked the chatterbait up with 6 minutes left, and I caught a 17. And that 17 needed to be an 18 for me to win.
Wow, man, that's still impressive though, man, and that's fun.
Oh
Being
yeah.
able to go back and forth like that
Oh,
on
yeah.
the board.
Yeah.
I couldn't have no one telling me that though, because I would be freaking. I had to cut my phone off. You know,
This guy would be freaking out.
I'm like, man, you can't tell me that. Like, don't tell me that.
Yeah, dude, it was hard. It was so hard.
Yeah. I'm the type. I don't like looking at the board until I start putting fish on there. Or if I'm
Yeah.
sucking really bad,
You'll
I'm
check
like,
it
I'll
out.
look at it now. Like, yeah.
See, I have a problem
But-
with the board, man. I'll look at it too much, to see where I'm at, just to see what's going on. Like, I usually don't eat breakfast until I get a limit, and
Yeah.
that was different for these tournaments. I had to eat, man. Some days I didn't get a limit till 11 o'clock. I'm like, dude, I'm about to die. I got to eat some food. Like, so I don't know. I had to switch up my rules on these tournaments a little bit, but no, it was fun, man. It was so much fun going back and forth. I'm like, Rolando's an absolute hammer, dude. He absolutely
Yeah.
deserves the dub. Like, he just outfished me straight up, and outfished a lot.
Yeah.
He did phenomenal, and he did it with live scope too. Like,
Yep.
that's crazy.
He did really well in tough conditions for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the guys that caught him deserved every inch that they got. You know what I mean? Because it was all the way down to the guy that caught just one fish. Because it was tough. I mean, it was tough for a lot of people. It's a lot that changed.
Yeah.
So,
and all depending where you went was how tough it was. Where you were fishing, like where y'all were fishing could have been 10 times tougher than where I was,
Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely didn't get that many bites.
No.
Yeah.
No. Now, my first day, I was catching fish. I wasn't catching monsters by no means, but it was just like a flurry. Like, it just clicked on. I was sitting on a point dragging a rig, and then it just clicked, and I'm just sitting there power pole down, just catching fish after fish. But they were nothing. They were, they were line cutters and 14 inchers. You know what I mean? Like, it was not. I mean, I was excited because I finally caught something. Because me and James practiced for 4 days down there, and
we didn't catch a limit together.
It was a tough practice, man.
Yeah.
I
done got a limit. I'm like, I'm on something. I'm on something now.
He says, on them.
I'm on them. I'm on them 14 inches, baby. but yeah,
fun.
it was tough. It was a tough event. But I tell you what, Hobie did a good job. Bass did a good job. But I thoroughly enjoyed fishing with great anglers. You know what I mean? And both events is some really good anglers in both of those. I mean, but like I say, it was fun. But kind of talking about your season and all that. What do you got next in the works for tournaments, and what's your 2022 season looking like?
Pretty much here. I'll tell you piece by piece where I'm going, where I'm gonna be. So we're done with January, February, and March. No, we're not done with March. We still have March. So March, I head out to Roosevelt. After Rosie, I've actually been to Roosevelt before. I only caught 3 fish, so hopefully for that redemption. I actually broke off to a 15 and missed like a freaking giant right at the boat on a drop shot. Like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. But Chris Spencer actually won that event. Chris Spencer just got done with Folsom. I don't know, y'all have been paying attention to the KBF series, but he went out to Yakabass, and he won pretty much everything out there. So hats off to him too, and he'll be going back down to Arizona too. Fish with us, who will all be rooming together actually. So we'll do Roosevelt. I'm going to jump over to Chatefield, something like that, Colorado. That's April and May. That's like my birthday. And then I have May 14th, Hobie, Broken Bow, Oklahoma, if I sign up in time. June 4th and 5th, KBF Pineview. And there's a local trail. It's just like my here in Utah. Or it was going to be Chickamauga. I'm pretty sure I have to stay home because my mom's going to be in town that weekend. And she lives in Mississippi. So hang out with mom.
Yeah.
And then July and August, I'm kind of No, June. I actually have another event with ABA. It's I want to say it's American Bass Association. I could be wrong. It's called Ironman Series in California.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
We sponsor that event. Yeah, we're
Yep.
big sponsors
Oh,
of that
okay.
event.
Okay, sweet. So
Yeah.
I'm actually going to run out there with them to Lower Otay with the KBF. So there is off limits. The one day of practice is like Wednesday, which is a little sucky, but is what it is. So I might head down and practice Wednesday, or might just show up the day of the tournament and hope for the best. But I've heard really good things about that tournament series and what's coming in and what's in work. So I would love to be a part of that. And then after that, I have the West Coast Championship and a KBF trail out in Clear Lake. It's probably what I'm most excited for. No questions asked. And Hobie Darnell and KBF National Championships and the Hobie Tournament of Champions in November on Caddo. And there'll be a few in between there. Like I'm sporadic, man. I'll freaking load up and pack up and fly down to Texas tomorrow. Like it.
Yeah.
My wife says I'm very conniving, is what she says. I don't know, but it works.
But you do. Yeah, it works for you. No, that's good. Well, that you got a busy season, and excited to see how it goes for you for sure. For
Appreciate
sure,
it, man. I'm excited. I'm excited.
And but let's kind of scroll through. We got a couple questions. I want to start here at the top. People have been asking questions off and on in here, and want to. Oh man, let's start from the beginning here. Get to some of them. I don't want to get. Craig's got some funny ones. We ain't gonna get into them yet. Here, Casey Starnes has got one. Cody, you coming to the TVA River system?
I don't think so. I don't even know what that is.
That's the Tennessee River, the Tennessee River systems like Watts Bar and Chickamauga.
What date is that? What series and what date?
I don't know. I think he's just asking if you were coming out there anytime soon.
I don't think so, man. I wish.
Here's a good one. Best pre-spawn bait for lake fishing.
Y'all want to give y'all's input, or y'all want me to say something?
You're the star of the show tonight, buddy.
Whoa!
Don't you can't say the secret sauce.
Yeah, you can't say the specials.
I can't say the special. I will say a piece of the special. One of my favorite pre-spawns for bass is a chatterbait. Like it's just, I really do feel like it's something that gets them fired up, But like really anything, a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, anything moving, like a crankbait, a lipless. Like I just watched a video on Wheeler. One of the number one things that Jacob Wheeler throws during pre-spawn is a lipless. He likes those Okashira. I'm pretty sure it's Okashira. Maybe that's Okashira head. I don't know. It's something like that. And that Japanese stuff is good stuff. But there's so many things you can throw. A lot of people like Cincos going by the bank. But in my opinion, I'm a power fisherman, so I like to fish fast. So I'm going to be throwing a chatterbait, a lipless. If the water temps are right, I'm going to throw a buzzbait, or a topwater ribbit frog. But more or less, if we're staying underwater, a chatterbait, spinnerbait, and a lipless.
Yeah. Craig says Cody Iconelli. We talked to Craig a while back.
So many people tell me about that. He says I didn't really like Mike Iconelli that much, but I'll take it, man. Maybe it's just the excitement we're going off of,
Yeah.
No, dude, I like Mike. He's cool, dude.
You can't control those emotions when you hang a big one and it's, or you're about to win an event, or it's your first fish, you're like, holy crap, it's something totally unexpected, especially like after a bad practice or no practice, And I was looking back at some of the videos I'm editing. I'm like, the expressions James does or things I say, and I'm like, man, we really get jacked,
I got jacked a few times. So probably be some bleeping in the video.
Oh, it was one I had to put a beep in there. I could not edit that out. When he's like, look at that.
Right. Yeah, dude, that's pure joy, though, man. That is just pure freaking joy, and you're doing what you love. Like, there's nothing else in this world I'd rather be doing, than God. There's just no way. There's nothing.
Yeah. I don't think there's a drug out there that can give you that feeling. You know what I mean? I don't think it. So,
no, trust me, there's not.
Yeah. Let's see. Billy Hood, just wondering if you tweak your barbs on the frogs out a bit.
I do not, Bill. I used to. I'm this. I don't want this to sound cocky by any means, because I'm not. I'm not like this expert on frog fishing. I actually have a video out. If you'll go and look up Cody Henley on YouTube and type in frog fishing 101, or just scroll through my videos. I don't have that many. I go over a little bit. I'm still new to the YouTube thing, but I used to tweak all my hooks out and bend them out a little bit, but then get caught up in so much stuff. I actually found one of the best frogs in the world, and that is the Live Target 55. You can go up to 65 if you want, if we're going to some big Florida strain bass or some those big fish and you're targeting those big fish. But a 55 just seems like an all-around perfect weight. I don't remember what weight I throw in it, because I didn't even know for the longest time they had different weights in them. But sometimes I'd be like, this thing sucks at throwing, but this one's great. I'm like, I'm throwing this one away. But they were just different weights, and I just didn't know that.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me with frog fishing, and Bill, this will help you, no questions asked. I don't think since I've learned this, I might have missed maybe 2 frog fish out of 500. And that might sound too super like, oh, you're so good. I'm not. Like, it's not. It's just that everyone on the boat will just be screaming at me, set the hook, set the hook. Dude, let them son of a guns choke on it, turn around and think they have the best meal in the world and tell their buddy, guess what I got in my mouth? And then just yeet on them. Yeet on them and as hard as you can. I've literally let a frog fish, don't do this always, but I've let a frog, boom, blow up. Counted 1, 2, and look back and be like, you think I should set the hook now or should I wait a little bit? And waited 7 seconds, tightened my line up until I felt him and just jerked on him. But in a typical day of frog fishing, if I'm throwing out there and you see a blow up, I literally will just watch my line, maybe tighten it up a little bit, let him see like where he's going. I'll give him a solid 3, easily 3 or more seconds, and you will not miss a frog fish. It's just impossible. You know, whether that's putting a little bit of scent on. I never put scent on the frog, but they just don't let go of it.
A lot of people need to understand, this is stuff that me and James are working on this year, is your setup too, because you can go wrong when it comes to a setup. And like, for instance, like chatterbait, we finally just got a nice chatterbait setup. I mean, you know, you lose a lot of fish on certain techniques, and then you realize that, hey, maybe either my rod is too soft or my rod's too stiff, or my line is got too much stretch. You know, there's a lot of variables that are in play when it comes to certain techniques.
How tall you are, if you're in a boat or if you're in a kayak.
Yeah.
You know, you might need a little stiffer rod if you're in a kayak, just because you're going to move with, you're moving, when you set the hook, you're moving your whole boat.
Yeah.
And in a bass boat, when you jack a fish, you're not moving.
Yeah. You're pulling it right to you.
So that's why it's so hard to, you know, each person has to find their own little niche in each rod that they want.
Yeah. And I mean, each brand's different. I mean, we've switched over and used a couple different brands for fork. We're looking at a couple of different ones, and we've noticed some big differences just with the Carolina rig rod that I was using. I noticed some big difference I like there, you know, and there, you know, the chatterbait rod, you can really sling it. You got more backbone. So, I mean, you know, and there's specialty rods, there's frogging rods. And like you say, you can't sit the hook too early, but you also got to have that right setup for.
Yeah, no, that you're exactly right. That setup plays a huge role. Huge role.
Craig put golden shiner jackhammer as a killer color, mimics Tennessee shad. Let's see. What was another one?
This is the guy that started asking the questions.
Oh, okay. He said, got here late, assume, talking about kayak tournaments. And then trying to go down here to there we go. Here you go. So kayak tournaments go by total weight or but total inches. So it goes by inches. But you know, as bass fishermen, especially if you come out bass boat stuff, you always kind of guessing the size of that fish. You know what I mean? You're trying to total in your mind what you got weight wise, but it all goes by inches. It's catch, picture, release. You know, so you know, and if you go on our Facebook page, I'm sure Cody on his Facebook page, you'll go in there and you'll see pictures of fish laying on the catch board. That's what we're doing. We're taking we got rules that we have to go through with the fish's mouth being closed. You can't cover the eyes. You can't. It's depends on what you fish and how crazy it gets with some of the rules on it. And if you don't know it, you're going to learn it real fast because you're going to get either fish deducted or inches deducted.
Yeah.
Or
And then also that goes along with that question, he was wondering how, if there's no cell phone service. Well, you're taking a picture on your phone and you've got a certain amount of time after the tournament ends that you can go to a place that's got cell phone service to be able to submit your pictures.
Yeah. So like we got to be off at water at say 3:30. You have till what 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that.
Hour.
So you got time to get somewhere. You got cell phone service and get your fish submitted. So
if not, you got to go off the water early to be able to make sure that you're somewhere to submit your fish.
But yeah, let's see. What is this? Okay. So, anyways, that was some of the questions we had come through. Cody, we were sitting here talking about that one question came up about the best pre-spawn baits, and that was kind of what our in-depth segment was going to be. And you answered those questions. And being that you have caught a lot of fish off of a jackhammer here lately, a vibrating jig to some that don't throw the jackhammer. But let's kind of go in depth with that and talk about, because each situation will be different, whether you're in Florida, whether you're at Toledo Bend, whether you're at Fork, you're fishing so many different water columns and structure. So, but when it comes down to the actual setup, what is your setup when it comes to rod, reel, line, all that?
Okay, so that really like my fishing line really determines where we're fishing. That's just like with anything. When I went to Florida, I swapped everything out 20-pound line. Man, and I'm a boat flipping freak. A net does not work for me. I don't care how good you can net. I can't. No matter what, for me, it just goes to a complete fail every time I try to net a fish. So I'm just so used to yanking on them some and skiing them and just freaking grabbing them, flipping them in. And just literally the second they get in, I close my legs and my knees and they just hit me in the chest and bam. I'm like, got him. I just get so excited with that, man. When I hit that, you have to watch some of my videos, but every single one of them, I'm just slinging them into it, just smacking me. But obviously my number one, and for the longest time, I could not find a chatterbait rod I liked. Man, some were glass. Some had way too much parabolic bend. Some had not enough tip, because you do want enough tip, for the fish to eat it, grab that tip a little bit, and then turn or whatever they're doing, right? And then drag them in as fast as you can. But that's whenever I jumped on board with yak rods. I don't just jump on board with anyone and be like, hey, yeah, cool, let's see what you got. I had to test out a lot of their stuff, and I wanted to make sure, like, because it was just a big change for me, like they have all straight wind grips instead of split handles. I used to like just split corks. It was just a big, huge change for me. And dude, after getting their products, I've been so in love with how balanced their rod are, how further I can cast. Just their X Chatter is actually called a specialty rod, the X Chatter and the Feast. And dude, that thing is the most insane. And it took them a process. Like, they sent me one of their production and I liked it a lot. I liked their prototype. I liked another one of their prototypes. I liked the prototype that had glass in the tip. And it took them a long time until they found this composite rod that was their chatterbait X Chatter. And it's a medium heavy. I don't know the exact specs on it. Pretty sure it's a medium heavy fast, but the rod was built from the ground up. They didn't buy a blank. They're not like every other company and every company's different, but they don't buy blanks. They build their blanks from the ground up. And I think that's what's so special about them, because you can build them however you want. And they literally built this to have such a good backbone and good and stiff in the middle, but then have that little bit of tip, but once you get past that tip, oh man, you'll jerk on them. You'll rip them up out of the water if they're small. They'll come flying at you. So for me, I run. You want me to talk about my reel setup, maybe?
Yeah. What's your gear ratio and all that when you're and also before we get to that, because what size chatterbait are you throwing? What ounce weight? I know it can change because if you're fishing deep, you're going to throw really, really heavy. But what's your average size that you normally start with?
In most applications, 3/8 to 1/2 ounce. I won't leave that unless I'm going to that 50 foot of water, which is the only lake that you'll probably ever see me throwing a chatterbait in 50 foot of water. It was 47 to be exact, but regardless, it was deep.
Yeah. So, and then going to your reel speed, I mean, what reel are you using for your chatterbait?
For the longest time before I had a motor on my kayak, I was using a 7.5 to 1, 7.3 to 1, something up in there. And I could, you can adjust your thump and see however you want the thump. But once I got a motor on, I swapped over because I'm a mover. I'm just constantly going, just zooming back and forth. I'm not no sit down pedal around. I jerk my pedals up and lay them down on the floorboard, and I'm motoring. And I usually keep it going from 1 miles an hour to 2.5, depending on where I'm at. And I don't stop anywhere in between there. There'll be areas that I'll stop and pick apart, throw my drive in. So I swapped over to 8.5 to 1, man, and love it. Absolutely. Because I can also, if I'm moving 1.5, I can burn that thing and then still be burning it. At 7.5 to 1, you can't burn and burn. If you're going 1.5, you have to compensate for what's coming and going. So when I put that 8.3 to 1, I can still get a good burn. And when you'll get that burn on that chatterbait will mess up. It's not designed to do that. It's supposed to be just doof, 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 doof. So when you hit that and you burn it, doof, doof, and it'll dart off to the left. It'll just do something stupid. And every time you'll see that thing just jump off, it'll just cause such a reaction strike. Because I'll literally just be reeling, and then all of a sudden I'll hammer down, stop, reel, hammer down, stop. And sometimes I will just slow retrieve it and just keep it to thump. But in most cases, I'm hammering down and just getting to do something stupid.
Yeah. And what brand reel are you using?
13 Fishing. TX2.
13 Fishing. Yep. Gotcha.
Yep.
I got one question here. This guy was saying yak rods. Who are they? I mean, where can they work? Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to take it down. Where can they get yak rods at?
So if they'll go online, they can go and get them. It's just yakrods.com. Just what you said, the forgotten man. If you'll look what you wrote, yak rods, just don't put a space in between it, and then just put .com at the end on the internet. Go check those out and look at whatever they have. They're literally designed for kayak fishermen, but they're more than just that too, man. They're growing their arsenal. They're in the process. They're not just one to grab a blank and just go put it together and be like, hey, we got this, this, and this. They are literally designing everything from the ground up for us. And there's quite a few boats that love their chatterbait, that love their feast. Their feast is like a extra heavy, like a jig rod with just some great parabolic bend. Like that was another 1.5 2 year done, or I think it was 1.5 years. But yeah, you can just go to the website and check it out. And if you'll use, if you want one, Henley 10, HENLEY 10, I think it saves you like 10% as well. So that helps out. Like anything's better than nothing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can say, if nothing else, I always tell people there's little codes like that at least save you on shipping sometimes. You know what I mean?
That's right, man.
Save you shipping price. So
that's right.
So, but let's talk a little bit. You got a business. We won't keep you much longer. It's getting late, but you got a business. You're making tackle, and whoops, I didn't mean to bring it back up here. I'm double clicking stuff, fat fingering it. You got your own tackle business. We talked at the boat ramp a lot about it. I didn't know nothing about it until we was at the boat ramp talking. I went back and looked at what you got. You got some really nice looking stuff. I like your lizards. I think I love dragging a lizard on Carolina rig. So
I appreciate it.
I was looking at those. I really like those. Tell people a little bit about it. What got you going? And I mean, are you doing it full time now, or do you work somewhere else, or is it
that's it,
full time
man.
with your tackle?
I'd like to say that I'm fishing full time, and when I'm home, I do that just to bring money in, but in reality, they're both kind of full-time jobs, like traveling the world and making baits for a living. So it kind of started a while ago, man. Right before I got married in April of 2019, I fell playing old man softball. I know, super dumb. And hurt my back. I ended up 7 months later, right before our championship in Utah, or right after our championship in Utah, I had to quit my job. I laid up for like 4.5, 5 months. It was just miserable, man. My life just completely turned around. I don't know, man. Like, we all have challenges, right? Every single one of us have challenges.
Yeah.
That's what makes us grow. Like, that's what we're here for. I got off my mission. I went home for 5 weeks to see my mom, and then I come back to Utah, and I met my wife. We ended up getting married, and just everything started going downhill, man. I did find fishing in the middle of all this. So this is kind of where it all happened. But fast forward, one of my chiropractors and doctors said, dude, you love fishing so much. Why don't you start making baits? Yeah, that's cool. Well, I started going home that night. My wife was like, maybe we should look into it. I think more than anything, she was just super worried that I was going to do something stupid. And that, like I literally went from doing everything that I wanted to being the most extrovert person in the world to laying in the bed for 4 months straight. It was the hardest thing that I had probably ever had to even come close to ever doing in my life. And it just was super hard, man. But when I started making baits that night, we went online and I ordered like $4,000 worth of soft plastic molds and making stuff. And I'm like, I'm ready, let's do it. Well, then she's like, oh, don't spend too much money. Well, dude, I ended up making that $4,000 back in like maybe a month and a half, 2 months. I'm like, maybe this could go. And my work sucked then. And it's still not great, but it was terrible then. I was doing some weird, wacky colors. I had some crappie baits I was selling to bass people. I don't know what I was doing, man. And things just started to pick up. Dude, I got some ice fishing stuff. And I remember I made like $4,000 in a month ice fishing. And I only had 2 molds. And I'm like, dude, this could really go somewhere with ice fishing. And I just kept sticking with it, man. I started designing molds myself. I started finding stuff that was really special that no one had, I'd found some like geek-crack, whatever, replicas of a few worms with like ribbed bodies. And everyone was like, dang, those are really cool. And they're not $10 a pack. I'll buy some from you. And things just started. It just really came together, man. It really did. This ice fishing year was the most unbelievable. I'm probably in about 12 stores around here in Utah, and I would stock one with $1,000, and then the next week they'd be empty. It just was so hard to stay on top of things. And then I was leaving for Florida, and we left a whole day late because we were supposed to leave the day before, but I forgot to check my website. I had 25 orders, and I started freaking out. And I was like, I'd already promised myself that I'd get everyone hooked up. So I was like, I've got to get this done before I leave, man. And a huge shout out to my buddy Cayman, who we drove down with. He stayed with me all day, and we worked from 6 a.m. to 6 at night. We left that night at 7, but we literally worked 12 hours and got all 20 orders shipped out and bagged that day. And no way I would have done it without him. So, yeah, man, things have been going really, really good. I think a lot with my fishing career. I think that's a lot of it why it took off, because I'd won Angler of the Year 2 times in Utah, and I don't know if like who's gonna know me, like really who knew me before going down to the Kissimmee? No one knew me, but in Utah of people posting this and posting that, like, dang, dude might actually know a little bit about fishing. Maybe I should just give his stuff a try. And then my ice fishing baits is really what spread around really fast because, dude, we still got 18 inches of ice on the deck right now. Like, we got a while until we're gonna be bass fishing out here. And it is people are freaks about it. Ice fishing is when I knew right now I can make a living off of this. And this is what I'll do in the meantime while I'm fishing across the world.
Yeah. So you got something that will supply you through the winter and through the summer. You know what I mean? You got bass fishing, you got ice
absolutely.
fishing. So
absolutely.
Like the kayaking industry for, like for us, for instance, I mean, we still have our times that it's still good, but you can see a slow down around November, December, and then it starts ramping back up after Christmas and all that. But like for you, I mean, people fishing all the time, man. You know what I mean? People buying baits and people losing stuff. And
I'm also an ice fishing guide during the winter. I was going to do some bass fishing guide, but I just do not have time. There's just no chance of me having time right now on my schedule. I've been an ice fishing guide for 2 years, and probably have to quit that pretty soon too, just because orders get so hectic. Y'all know, y'all exactly know. Like it's just a little bit too much for me. I'm probably gonna have to end up hiring someone starting next year or sometime this year, to do stuff while I'm gone, because I just never expected it to grow like this. But I don't want it to grow crazy either. I want to still be like a small business, and still be able to have 2 to 3 of the same style molds and hand inject them. I do not want to get those machines, man. Like, I just don't. So
It's a big investment, and then it's.
I know I'm super grateful for what the Lord has given me right now. I'm just trying to find a good balance, you know, and I'm happy with where we're at now, you know, whether that's 10 orders a week or whether that's 100. No, not 100. 45 is where I kind of want to be. 45 a week is kind of a good number.
Yeah. And that's kind of like us. That's where we're at. I mean, we're very blessed at where we're at. And things that have happened, and COVID was a big contributor to us being able to grow. I mean, I hate it. I hate saying that because it wasn't good for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah.
But it was a big contributor to us because a lot of people got outside and got kayaking, and they wanted to, after they got kayaking, they're like, oh gosh, I need a motor. Heck with paddling this thing, you know? So, and then it just worked out. So, and we're kind of like you though. We like being the size we are. Yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. I want to grow really big, but then sometimes I'm like, I don't know, man. I kind of like what we're doing right now. Like, you got to worry about hiring a bunch of people and this and that, you know? So we got a good support system, as well as you probably do too. And with James's wife helping with shipping and his daughter, it was big. Cause I mean, if we didn't have that,
we wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah.
We'd have had to come back sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool that y'all are able to
get on airplane about that.
What you love. That's cool.
Yeah. So, but man, let me make sure we ain't got no questions for you here. Before we let you go.
Newport Nation in the house.
Newport Nation in the house.
Is that Ramel? What's up, Ramel?
Yeah,
that's Ramel. What's up, dude? That's right, dude. I can't talk enough about those motors, man. I literally cannot talk enough. Dude, that thing is unbelievable. So I'm super excited to be joined up with them this year and see how it goes.
We love running their motor. We've been testing it on and off and just trying to get things set up right for the Hobie for us and some things we want to do with steering and all that. So, but awesome motor. I think this setup is awesome, and it gives you the option to run whatever battery system you want to run.
Yeah, dude, that's so nice. Because in most cases,
it's just great.
We have motor companies that are already helping us out and representing us, you know. So like, it's just hard to beat, you know. And shout out to Steven. I appreciate you, man. Good luck. And I don't remember what he said, but I appreciate you, man. And good luck this winter getting that native ready, because it won't be long. Yeah, I see it now. I appreciate you, Steven.
Yeah. So, but man, I like say I appreciate you taking the time to come on here. Where can people find your baits at? What's your website?
So my website is just my name. Oh, bam! Look at that shiz. Whoa. Oh, that's probably backwards. It's henleycustomlures.com. Just HENLEY customlures.com. And it says something on the website right now about February 15th. It won't be back till then. I'm home and I'm available. So I mean, you don't have to order everything on the website, but I mean, you can order a few things. I'm feeling pretty content where I'm at right now. I'm just kidding, dude. No,
let's try to push about 500 orders one day. Let's really get the stress ball rolling.
No, just that, and then my Instagram is the same. I can't decide what I'm gonna do with my gram, because like it says my name under it, but it also says Henley Custom Lures. But it's mainly my fishing page. I just will shoot a few reels on there every once in a while. My company, so yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
and the YouTube is just Cody Henley.
Yeah. No, the special sauce you use, is that one of your baits?
Is it on your website?
Yeah.
So we got to order everything in every color.
Okay.
All right, we got you, buddy.
It's on. I got way too many colors, man. And I need to get pictures behind the colors. But yeah, man, this was I ran out of what I was throwing on my jackhammer, and I didn't have a bag, and I just literally missed a fish. So I literally just looked down, and in the spare little box, I had one laying there, and it was like black and blue. It didn't even come close to matching the color I was throwing. I just cut it in half, slid it on there, dude. First cast, ding, 21. I'm like, huh. So then I started running it right beside my boat. And dude, the way that thing moves, it was just a special bite. And it might be in my head, but I don't care. That's the only thing I'll be throwing on my chatterbait from now on. There'll be nothing else thrown on there.
Well, we know it's something that he's cutting in half now.
Yeah.
So we're getting it out of you.
Yeah.
Oh, you getting
Don't worry, you'll
close,
see a big
man.
order coming up here soon. That's got to be the sauce. I know it is. But, well, man, I appreciate you coming on, guys. If you get time, make sure you go over and check him out on Instagram, Facebook. You say you got a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, just my name.
Go
Cody
check
Henley.
out. Yeah, just go check out Cody Henley and support him. And he's a small business, so let's support him and help him make a little bit extra cash to go on these fishing tournaments and support his family. So, but Cody, I appreciate you taking time, man. Hopefully we'll see you out on the trail again sometime this year, and good luck to you the rest of this year, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Hey, I appreciate y'all. It's James and Josh, man. Y'all are freaking awesome.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, man.
See y'all, man.
Good night. Good night,
See you,
man.
buddy. All right. Well, that was a good interview. That was fun talking with Cody. We had a good time talking with Cody at the boat ramp. The day we seen him, we was kind of he come over looking at our boats and looking at some things we had rigged up, which we'll have that video out here soon. We're trying to get things right before we do this video.
Yeah, and then we had a discrepancy in some material. With
one of the products that's going to be in this video.
After I had everything programmed. So
so that kind of put us a day or two behind on what we thought was going to happen. But you will see some stuff coming up Classic Week with product that's going to be coming out. We're going to be releasing stuff through the week for Classic Week, and then also we're going to have one of our dealers down at the Classic that's going to have some of our product on the boat. And then once all that is finalized, we'll tell you guys where you can go see all that stuff if you're down there at the Classic, because we this year are not going to be at the Classic.
Yep.
As heartbreaking as it is, and we haven't missed a Classic in a while.
Yeah,
we've traveled to Texas and everything, and but
a few years for sure.
Some things changed, and for the good. I'm gonna say it's for the good because this is something we've been wanting to do. We wasn't going to fish Florida. We weren't going to fish a Harris Chain for the BASS event, and all that's changed. So now we're heading down there in a couple weeks.
Instead of going to watch fishing at the Classic, we're just going to go fishing instead.
Yeah, be a part of it.
So I think that's a better deal for us.
Yeah,
for sure. Just because we get to be on the water, and then we'll have some more content from you from that tournament. And we have never fished Florida.
No, all these lakes that we fished so far, we've never been on.
No,
we've never fished. So we've been to Texas, what, 3 times? We went to Houston. We went to
twice.
So when we went fishing, this would be a 3rd time. So we went to Houston, and then they fished at on not Lake Fork. What was one of the lakes over there by Fort Worth?
Yeah,
and then we went down here and fished. So out of the 3 times we've been down there, we only fished once.
Yeah.
In Texas. So, and then I went down there with family last year and never, where we went, there was no water anyways. Like, I didn't really see no water. I seen a river basin and I'm like, there's no water here. So the only time we get water is when it floods and rains. So anyways, we've changed up some things. James had a phenomenal finish for the BASS event at Fork. And right now you're sitting in 3rd in points. So I'm sitting in 30th. I got a lot of room to make up to even get up there to try to qualify.
But that was still a really good tournament considering we didn't practice at all.
Yeah. We
just showed up on a spot. Like I said, we're not playing around either when we said we really do not know the name of the creek that we were in.
We really don't. We were like, because we're on Google Earth.
Because we went
on our phone.
We rode around for almost 2 days.
We burned a tank of gas up.
Yeah, looking at
ramps
and then dissecting them and make sure that it was legal ramps and everything like that. So
yeah, it's a lot of work in trying to figure out these ramps because like at Smith Mountain, for instance, it's public. It's big public signs there, and then after that, if you find a ramp, it's either in a subdivision and it's got a rope up and it says private property, whatever. But down in Texas, it was hard to,
it can be deceiving too, because like even when it said boat ramp, there was multiple boat ramps in certain areas. So, and there was public boat ramps, but on some of the other, like the spot that we fished, there was boat ramps that went to a community as well, which we couldn't we couldn't put in at that one, but we ended up finding a public boat ramp, and we were the only boats there the first day.
Yeah.
The second day we had probably
4 or
10.
5. Oh yeah, they
It
kept
was
coming in
probably
through the
10
morning.
It was probably 10 boats by lunchtime that was in there, but we got lucky, and really
Yeah, they all left.
they were in and out
Yeah.
of that cut. And
Towards the end of the day, it started coming back in.
then we had one person knew that I was sitting pretty high up in the standings because I was 7th after day 1, and they were really courteous and everything, and didn't even think about doing anything or coming to the spot or anything that we were going to.
Yeah. For real quick, I just want to, just in case he gets off here, I just want to thank Stephen Worth. I appreciate that. Appreciate the
Thank you.
business. And like I said, if you got any questions about your mount rigging, feel free to call us. We'll help you out with anything we can. So
Yep.
I really appreciate it, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. I mean, like I say, it was so much map study before we got down there. I mean, it was a lot.
It was a lot. And then when we went down there, we realized that some of the spots that we were liking wasn't
Even in the water.
what we liked, or it was no water at all. So
Yeah.
so we had to, it was definitely some game plan changes. And I mean, the first day we were down there, I mean, we spent half the day unthawing our kayaks just to be able to get the covers off.
Oh gosh.
I mean, and it was miserable.
If y'all didn't see it, you can go on our Instagram, Facebook, and see. I mean, we was having to take boiling hot pans of hot water out there to pour on the locks for our trailer box, pour on our strap latches.
Pour on a trailer lock. We couldn't even unhook a trailer
Yeah.
from the truck because the trailer lock was actually frozen. I mean, anything and everything that you could think of. It was, and we put covers on our boats. Thank God we bought covers to put covers on our boats for this trip because, but on the other hand, it took forever to get the covers off of it.
Yeah. Craig. Yeah, is
Craig coming to the shop tomorrow?
I don't know. Craig, you come to shop tomorrow? Craig's got his new toy, so we plan on getting that in there and getting some things rigged up for him. But
yeah, he's gonna get mounted tomorrow, maybe.
Woo, get bow mounted. But
I just left that part out.
But I mean, going into it, man, we talked a little bit about when we had Cody on and all that. It was fly by the seat of our pants for fork. We had no practice. We just did our research, found water that we liked. We know what we like to fish.
Mm-hmm.
We knew like around about temperature wise what we were seeing from post and forms and what we were dealing with. The oddball out on all of this was our graph setup. Like we had no idea what we were about to see when we put in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, y'all see in our video, our rigging video that we have out here soon. I mean, we had the Humminbird somewhat set up the way we wanted.
Yeah.
But we never got to really play with the live scope as much.
No, and we've had live scope for years.
Just never played with it.
Like it was on our bona fides, and then we ended up switching them to our natives, and we never used them
like idiots.
Like we should have. And we done a lot of research over the winter on using live scope and live sonars and stuff, and I feel like it really paid off. I definitely wouldn't have been where I was on fork without it, and I definitely wouldn't have finished, even though it wasn't a great finish at Toledo Bend. I wouldn't have finished there either without it. So it was a big difference. I know it's a lot of money, and it is somewhat video game fishing, but I think you learn so much about what the fish are doing that you don't need to use it all the time.
No, it's a time and place for it.
And I mean, even if you just had it to test your baits,
that's what I thought was awesome about it. Because at fork, we didn't have time to play with it and see. And, I mean, we used it, but to actually test baits, like testing the depth of a jerk bait and of the stunner, and then testing the plus one or the Lucky Craft or your crankbait, your jigs. It's phenomenal how slow certain baits sink that you always thought that
Mm-hmm.
sunk a lot faster than they did, and hitting the bottom. And I know you can count baits down, but you actually watch it. Or you cast a swim jig. I was throwing a small swim bait out because we've seen those crappy spots down on the bottom in 30 foot of water. And I'm throwing it out there, and I'm like, good gosh almighty, how long is it going to take? And then when you start working it, how fast that bait just shoots right back up to the top.
Yeah. I mean, like a jig, like just even when you think that you're dragging it, if you reel it a little too much, it comes off the bottom.
Yeah.
Or
a lot.
Or your Carolina rig.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just doing this and you do that, it can pick the whole weight and everything up. Like you're not really dragging it.
Yeah.
So to do that and actually figure out what your baits do, like if you only had it for that reason, I think it would be phenomenal. Like to go out there and somebody that's got it. Ask if you can go out there and you just tie crankbaits on all day and run it in front of it. You cast it out there and see how much how deep they go, and write it on the bottom of them with a fine tip Sharpie or something, and just
because you'd be surprised at how shallow some of them actually run that they think they say they run, or how deep they run than what they, what I mean? And I mean, this is using bigger line than we normally would with certain crankbaits. So
yeah,
I was really impressed with some of the baits and how they ran and all that. But I mean, live scope was a big deal. And like say, people talking about video game fishing, some people say it's cheating. But when you are in a tournament situation where you just put a lot of money up to win a lot of money, and everybody else around has got it, well, I'm not going to be big headed and have all this pride and say I don't need that, because I'm going to tell you what. But like say, we've had it for a couple of years and it ain't worth 2 cents if you don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's God honest truth. Like the 360, we're still learning some stuff.
Yeah, you have to spend the time.
Yeah, with the graphs.
With the graphs. I mean, it's not a set it and forget it with Panoptics.
No, you're changing stuff all day.
You have to. That's one thing that we were definitely doing wrong. Everybody's like, oh, you just set the Garmin up to these settings and then you're good. And, you just tweak the gain, and this is not like that at all. But we learned a lot. And like I said, we've done a lot of research over the wintertime between the two of us, back and forth. If he's seen something and then I seen something, we were talking about it, and I mean, it's a big player. And like I said, the 360 is a huge deal. It's just one of them things. Definitely, Fork was not the tournament to go out there and try to figure out how to learn how to use it, and we thought we had that dialed in.
Yeah,
but it's definitely very useful.
I think it was more useful on Toledo Bend than it was on Fork, just because it was so much standing timber where the lake was so low.
Yeah,
that
you really didn't need it.
Yeah.
And now when the water's up, it would be huge to know where each tree is and
be able where the edge of the tree lines are and all that stuff. But I mean, you had a good event. I mean, it was a jerkbait bite like we talked about. It was looking for 5 big bites all day long. I got 3 the first day, 2 the second day. You were able to fill out your limit both days, which was key to Fork.
Yeah.
A limit was key. It's always key anyways.
Yeah.
But if you could just get a limit, I'm talking 12 inches. You could just get a limit.
Yeah, if you could have had a limit of 12 inches on both days, you would have done really
I don't think it lived in Fork. I don't think it's 12 inches in
there
Fork.
was a 12.25 caught.
Well, I'll tell you what, in my creek. Or our creek.
We just, they're probably there, but, Crappy probably eat them.
Yeah.
Down there.
I mean, that's the first time, like, Lord, can you please just give me some 12-inch fish? Because I was sitting in a good position. I knew you were sitting good because you had a really good limit on the first day. I was on the bubble line of making the cut on getting into the Classic for qualifying, and just couldn't. That was in my head all day long.
But I didn't, like the first day, I did not catch my limit until the last, 3 or 4 minutes of the tournament.
And y'all will see that in this video. Like, you can hear James saying, keep an eye on the time. Let me know what the time is.
I'm screaming because Josh is pretty much at the boat ramp, and I'm screaming at him because I didn't have much time.
Yeah, because you got to have the fish. The fish picture has to be dated or timed by
Timestamp, yeah.
time stamped by, I can't remember what the time was. Let's say 3:00. It had to be by 3:00. If it was 3:01, it was no good. So when you hang one, you got to hurry up and reel it in and try. And you know how fish are; they're gonna flop around.
Yeah, and this was the biggest fish that I caught the whole day. I think it was 21.5 inches.
Yeah. So that was a good one. So we come out of there, both cashed some checks. You got a really good check. I got my entry fee back. So that was good. We go over to Toledo Bend. We take almost 2 days there, just about, of riding around the ramps, right?
In 2 tanks of fuel.
Yeah, in 2 tanks of fuel. I'm going to tell you what, to get from mid-lake all the way up the river was a tank of fuel and back.
Yes, and you're running, it took us an hour and 15 minutes from there, and we were running 70.
Yeah, Texas. I love Texas roads. Well, I love their speeds. I don't like their roads.
Well,
I don't like
Texas,
Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana roads are, yeah.
They don't care about their roads.
No.
I don't know where their money goes. They don't put it in the roads. I can tell you that right now. But yeah, I mean, so we went through some fuel. I mean, we fished 2 spots up the river, 2 days we fished. And then we found the one ramp that Cody was at.
Yeah.
I caught a bowfin, lost 2 bowfins. We just didn't get none. We couldn't make nothing work.
Yeah, I didn't have but a couple bites. We just weren't feeling it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't feeling it.
So we go back. So before we went up there, we went out to a spot at the lower end of the lake. And this is where we ended up fishing both days of the tournament. And we didn't catch nothing there, except at the very end, right when we was going to leave, we were coming across a point, and I was like, "Look there looks like something going across there." And then James said, "Look, it's 2 of them or something like that. You seen 2 of them?"
Yeah.
And he caught one off of a jerkbait on the live scope. It was a nice size spot. What was it, like 15, 16 inch spot?
After it's probably at least a 16 or 17 after catching the 15s after I caught them. But at the time, I thought it was definitely a 15.
So he caught a nice spot off jerkbait. That was the only thing we had. I mean, we went up into creeks at the lower end. What was that 6 Mile Creek or something like that? I think.
Yeah. It's a huge body of water.
And I went way back in there, and I caught one that was probably 14.
Yeah.
And then I had one freaking just hit it and run on a chatterbait, and I mean it was a good sized fish, whatever it was. Could have been a mudfish. I don't know, but
yeah. And I caught a couple just wacky rigging docks.
Yeah. So I mean, we had nothing. We caught a limit together. No, we didn't have a limit together that day.
Mm-mm.
And then practice sucked the rest of the week. It was 70s. We're getting sunburnt, which I didn't mind. Bluebird skies. There hardly any wind. And then the day of the tournament, the front came in. We had waves crashing over the boat. I had a slew of issues going on with just something. I didn't get my bachelor's charge good. So I had a slew of issues there. Wheels are freaking spinning here. I'm derailing. I'm derailing bad there for a minute. I was about to pack it up and load it because it was cold. The temperature dropped horribly.
And it kept dropping throughout the day.
Yeah, and then the rain was coming in. And then, so anyways, James, he gets on some fish. He's 4 fish in. Yeah. We didn't fish in points for a while. We went and run them in the morning.
Yeah.
Fished them for what, 30 minutes, 40 minutes?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And then I went down, then you come down, and then you went down past me.
Yeah,
that's where he started catching his fish.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to come out early because the wind was just getting horrible.
Yeah, and I broke one off that would have been key.
Yeah.
That fish I broke off that day was key.
Thank you, Evan. Appreciate the support, buddy. I was having issues, so I just pulled back on that point where James caught that spot. Yeah. And I anchored down through a Carolina rig in the exact same cast the rest of the day and caught my limit.
Yep.
All day. Then James rolls in and he's like, "My gosh, man, I need a limit." I'm like, "Roll on over here, buddy. I'm going to call my limit." I'm like, "Here, get you a 12-incher. That'll help."
Yep.
The fish did what?
Completely stopped biting.
Done. I did catch like 1 or 2 right there.
And then I ended up catching one right there at the very end, but it was maybe 8 inches. I mean, it was teeny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next day we go out, kind of a little more relaxed. Front was coming through, it was a little bit of wind, but it wasn't much.
Mm-hmm.
You go down there and catch a decent limit. I mean, you got in there and catch a
pretty quick too.
Yeah. And you were just throwing shaky heads on docks.
Yeah, I think I caught all of them off of a shaky head that day.
Yeah. Your first day was kind of mixed bag. It was cranking and
Oh,
shaking.
I was cranking, wacky rig, shaky head. It was.
It was junk fish special.
Oh yeah, I was. Depending on the situation I was in, that's for sure.
I went through and fished a couple little creeks, and then I ended up coming back to that point because I didn't start catching them fish the first day until 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled up there and anchored down, catch 2 12s. I lose a really good one. I would say 18, 19. And then I catch another one. It's about 18. And then finally, towards the end of the day, I caught my 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
But I stumbled onto something because I was watching my graph and seeing fish starting to pull up under the boat and on the point, and they wasn't there earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They were moving up. The warmer temperatures, they were moving up on the bank.
Yep.
And I was throwing a Carolina rig out, working like a crankbait, just beating the bottom up, and they started hitting it. And I just Carolina rig bait's hard to do that because they're either hitting the weight or you're not getting a good hook set.
Yeah,
it's hard to do that. You know what I mean? You're not getting a really good hook set with it. So a lot of times Carolina rig, you got to let them take it good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I had some missed opportunities. It was still nothing to. I don't think even if I would have caught my limit, I would have never got a check. But it would have moved us up there pretty good in points.
Oh yeah, both of us with the fish that you lost a couple fish, and I lost the fish. I mean, I broke that one off. You know, it's nothing, but it would just helped in points.
Yeah,
that's all.
I would have felt like we would have came out of there with definitely a top 30 spot if we both had our limits both days.
Well, probably because a 12-inch fish would have been a long ways
up
the leaderboard.
Yeah. So, but I mean, we still came out with okay points. I mean,
yeah.
I doubt it'll do anything for the TOC.
No.
I mean, you're going to have to go have 3 good events somewhere.
Yeah.
To make up for it. So, and it was a lot of good guys that was in this that struggled, man. And I mean, some of them on the second day just said to heck with it. They were going to try something new and just swing for the fences, It didn't work out for some. Some it did.
Because it definitely could have.
Yeah. Yeah. The spots they were fishing, from what I've seen from pictures and all that, I'm like, man, if they would have loaded up right, stacked up in there right.
Oh, yeah. They could have stacked it in there right. You could have walked away with a huge limit. I mean, it is Toledo Bend.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything can happen. So, but I mean, we're pretty excited how the season has started for us. I mean, some look at the Toledo Bend event like, well, yeah, I mean, you didn't finish that great, but for us, it was big because from where we started from practice to what we ended up with was like us. We felt like we won the tournament.
We went from fishing for 3 days of practice and catching 5 fish together.
Yeah,
to catching 18 fish in 2 days together. So that's a huge upgrade from where we were to begin with.
So role reversal from Fort Toledo, I see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was not. They're not the same bodies of water. That's
for sure. And
they weren't fishing the same at all.
I'd have thought Toledo Bend the fish would be up there more shallow. And we fished late that one night, and we were catching some of the spots. There had them spots up there they were chasing shad that night.
Yeah.
During practice, but that was off limit spot anyway. So we couldn't have got there from a boat ramp.
Yeah,
there was no way. It was too far away. So, and those fish wouldn't have done nothing anyway. So, but anyways, we had a good time. We're excited to be back. Been back in the shop getting things shipped out, and I do appreciate all the support from everybody.
Yep,
all our customers, all our great customers. It was good to be back and seeing all the orders we had and all the support. So we got some big, like I say, we got some big stuff coming this week. We got our Lake Fort Day 1 video getting released tomorrow.
Yep.
We're gonna finish up our trailer walkthrough. We finished up our trailer. We're gonna add a few more things, but we'll keep that updating as we go. But we're gonna let you guys see where our trailer's at right now and how we got them down there in the Fork and Toledo Bend. And then next week is gonna be product release week.
And definitely sign up for our newsletter that we let out once a week, normally on Fridays. And that way you stay up to date on the latest videos and our latest new stuff, sales, stuff like that.
So. All that. Yeah. So some of our sales we just post on there. We don't really post nowhere else. So make sure you get signed. You can go on our website, oneobjectivebf.com. Scroll down a little bit and it says sign up for our newsletter. I promise you, we don't bombard you with emails every day of the week.
No,
once a week on a Friday.
Yep.
Normally it's like 11:30, 12 o'clock. when it
Yep.
comes through. So, but other than that, I mean, like I say, keep your eyes out, guys. Also, one other thing before we let everybody go is please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are working on a giveaway. We've been talking about this for the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
James was actually on Paddle and Fin while we were at Toledo Bend,
Yep.
and we talked a little bit about that on there. We don't want to talk about what it is because we're still trying to put everything
Trying to work
together.
it all out.
But when we hit 10,000 subscribers, we're going to do a big giveaway.
Big giveaway.
Yeah, I think you're going to want to be a part of this one. So, really excited to be that close. I mean, we're over 7,000.
Yes.
7,000.
It's taken a long time to get to 7. And
Yeah.
hopefully we can get to 10 quick, and we'll be able to give this really good prize pack away.
Yeah. So, I mean, you see some channels, man, they hit it quick. I don't know how they do it, but we ain't that one. So hopefully, but it's been ramping up. It's been ramping up a lot here lately. So hopefully we'll get to that 10,000 quicker than we did getting to 7,000. But anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all guys tuning in tonight. We had a good guest on. Also, you can check this show out on iTunes and Podbean and all that. I don't know if it'll be up tomorrow. We got a lot going on tomorrow and releasing a video, but I'm gonna try to get it up there and get it onto the podcast platform. So, but other than that, guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate all the questions, all the comments, all the support. Hope we got to everybody's stuff. Craig, I'll see you at the shop tomorrow. You better be there bringing breakfast.
Yep. Bring breakfast.
We like chicken biscuits and country ham biscuits.
I'll text you what else you're gonna have to bring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Bojangles. We like Bojangles. Country ham Bojangles biscuit.
Josh has already got a lotion, so
we better get off here. We'll talk to you later, guys. See ya.
See you, everybody.